We're starting this week with a recipe that is pretty simple, but is not in any of my books. It is a recipe that I came up with. It is inspired by one of the pies in Waitress, the Oasis pie, sorry. And it's described as a chocolate tart with like either it's blueberry or blackberry inside, and I can't remember which one, but I'm not doing either blackberry or blueberry, I'm doing passion fruit. I came up with this recipe at first because I had some passion fruit jam that I didn't know what to use it for, because I don't like it all that much. It's a bit too acid for me, but I had it and I was like, sure, whatever. So what I did was I used a cookie crust. It was still when I could still eat gluten, I think, so I used cookie crust and chocolate silk pie on top that I baked, and that passion fruit jam at the bottom of it, and it was surprisingly good. So I want to recreate it because guess what? I do have some passion fruit again because, well, I use the skin to make tea, so I'm running out of tea, so I'm using them, and they were on sale. That's basically the reason for it. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So first is making the jam, and this time I will not use the whole jam, I will use the strained one so I don't have the seeds. It's gonna be better, I think. I should probably be washing those, but I'm not going to. And this time, instead of using a cookie crust, I'm going to actually use cookie dough to make the pie shell. And I have a very, very good recipe for almost brownie-like chocolate cookies, and I think it's gonna be so amazing with it. So that's kind of the goal. So cookie dough, blind baked, passion jam on top, chocolate silk pie filling on top, bake, and then I'm gonna make decoration with the leftover cookie dough. So that's gonna be fun. But none of that is going to happen until I make that jam. Okay, jam is done. There isn't a lot of it after straining, and it's a bit more caramelized than I would like, but it doesn't need to be a lot more to just have a little layer that brings a little flavor. It's gonna be okay. So the next part is making the cookie dough. It's a recipe that I know by heart by now, and I already have the flour made. Why? Because I had to mix some more. I was running out, and considering that I cannot have wheat anymore, I have to be creative with the flours that I use. This one is a mix of corn flour, rice flour, and potato starch, and xanthan gum. Sorry, I'm struggling with the words, but you get the idea. So I'm already doing only half of the recipe because it's a humongous recipe, and that's, yeah. So let's do this. microwave can fix. Yeah, because I have very temperamental microwave that is like 4 times my age, so I do with what I have. As we all must. Okay, butter is here. Okay, at first it's gonna look like it doesn't come together, but cocoa has the particularity of absorbing moisture really weird compared to like flour. So yes, it's going to come together eventually. And yes, when I'm baking, I'm cleaning my hands constantly. Because of course my battery died right when I was finished. This is my dough. It's a little loose at the moment, so I'm going to chill it overnight. Because I'm not doing this tonight, I'm going to go to bed soon and chill it and come back to it tomorrow when my kitchen is clean again. We are back and my setting changed slightly because I'm trying to remove that dumb ray of light that's coming from my lamp. I tried everything that I could think of and it's still here, so you're gonna have to deal with it, just like me. So we're back on the second day and we're going to actually finish this pie today. So first thing, is actually baking the pie. Here's my dough and it's stone cold. Stone cold still roasting. And I'm going to roll it because it needs to fit. In this mold that has a very nice removable bottom. And maybe I should line it, but I know that cookie doughs are pretty buttery, so usually they don't really need it. They don't tend to stick. They are nice little things and they don't stick. So as you can see, it's really hard. That's the risk, but yeah, that means that it's pretty hard to manipulate. So I'm going to have to actually work it out a little. And it's in a moment like that I realized I shouldn't have put baking powder in this, but I did. And I'm going to have to pay for that soon enough. That's life. As you can imagine, filming videos is not as simple as it looks. I have my classic kitchen lamp that I had to wrap paper towel around to diffuse the light. That did not work, but I did it anyway. And I have a secondary lamp there with an umbrella on top of it, so it diffuses the light. And still I've got one stubborn ray of light right behind me. It's part of life. It's fine. So I have half of it there. I'm gonna roll it and see if it's enough to fit in the tart pan, because I want it to be pretty thin. I think it's gonna be enough. Okay, so it is now cohesive again. I'm gonna start rolling it. Okay, it looks like trash, but I don't mind piecing it, so I'm gonna make it work. Working with cookie doughs instead of like pie doughs is risky and interesting and doesn't always turn out right, but it makes for a very rich dough and it's always nice, at least in taste. Something to keep in mind if you ever try it. Also, if you're like me and you don't have access to simple gluten-free pie doughs in your area, that's an option, because usually they tend to stick together a little better. That's why I like this one. Even without gluten, it actually holds together because of like all the butter and the egg and everything that makes it work. Just takes a while to piece it all together. Note that this probably wouldn't have been happening if I kneaded my dough a little more. But I didn't, and I'm going to stand by it. Now that's it happening. I never hesitate to own to my own actions and the consequences of it. It looks as trash, but you know what, so do I. And I don't mind it. And I know it'll taste good, which is the only important thing there. It's just the shell. The rest will look better. There. Now I'm baking. And while it's baking, I'm going to make the filling. It's going back in the fridge because I have no sense of self-preservation. And I will do the whole process once again later. One of the things that I'm going to do differently from the recipes, it calls for 2 eggs, but instead I'm going to make 1 whole egg and 1 egg yolk, so I can use the white to make icing later. And I think it'll work, because it's not that temperamental. It should be okay. I think my ganache is going to need a little more heat. I'm going to do my best not to incorporate too much air in it. Probably should have sifted it, but I didn't. And I think that's part of life. It's gonna melt, it's okay. Okay, things ready. I'm going to take out my jam. It honestly looks more like a caramel than anything, but I think it's okay. Definitely has a caramel vibe. I think I've burned it. It's gonna be okay. It's fine. I do have some cream left. I wonder if that's going to turn out better if I add it. Or if going to make everything worse. I don't know, I'm not sure. Okay, it's in a mostly liquid state. I'm going to pour it on my thigh. Yeah! Turned out pretty even. Okay, I'm gonna leave it alone for a little while. Just for the caramel to set. No wonder it's set here because it's slanted, but at least there it's cold. The curse of having a very small kitchen. Okay, I think it's set enough for me. Mostly because I'm very impatient. I only done like yesterday, so I'll deal with the fallout. It's fine. Air as smooth as I can, and then good enough. It's gonna be covered anyway. Here it goes for 40 minutes. Ta-da! It's cooked. It's still a little bit warm, but it's cooked and it looks great. And I love it. Now, It's time to make the cookie, to make the decoration on top, to make it look great. At first I wanted to do something like simple winter tree branches with snow. It was supposed to be simple, but I watched Narnia yesterday again and I was like, oh, I could do something Narnia and I want to do that, so I'm gonna do that instead. Okay, let's do this. Ta-da! The pie is baked and chilled and it's ready to eat. It's not as good as I would have wanted. I should have planned the spots of snow better so they, all puzzle together and I don't have to be layers that don't work well, or at least make the layers more intentional and better. And I made doors and they were underbaked, so they were not very stable and it just didn't look all that great, so I completely removed them. But the ganache that I was using for stabilizing it, for gluing it to the pie, is still there, so yeah, it's not perfect, it's a little ugly, but I think it'll taste good and it's the first bake of the year. I'm going to improve throughout the year. It's the first, if it's the first, it's gonna get better. But yeah, that's the pie, and now it's time to eat. And please ignore the mess behind me. I just was not in the mood to do the dishes yesterday, so I didn't. Perfect. I'm I'm gonna make my life easier and just take a slice that doesn't have cookie in it. I need the cookies separately. And it's hard. Okay, I definitely overdid that caramel jam. It's hard as fuck. That's kind of a problem, but it's okay. I'm more stubborn than any cake I've ever cut. I'm gonna remove the glass because I don't feel like breaking it. I have a bad feeling about this. Okay, what isn't helping either is that it's still stuck to the metal of the pan. That's fun. Okay, that is definitely something I need to improve on. But I'm the only one who's gonna eat it. Me and my neighbor who doesn't mind me touching it. Okay, let's have a taste. Very rich, very dense. Passion fruit is not very present. Not like last time, which is a shame. But it's good. Chocolate tart. It's good. Still cutting things out of the way now. See you next recipe. Guess we managed to fix the light. Okay, so tomorrow is the Epiphany, and I was planning to do something for it. In France, at least, we have tradition around the Epiphany that we make crowns and I don't know the word, little cakes. There are two options. One is frangipane filling around two puff pastries, or there is a brioche in the shape of a crown. And I haven't eaten any of that since I started going gluten-free, which was the ban of my existence, but I can go back now. And because mostly brioche and gluten-free don't mix very well, I could, since I can't find store-bought gluten-free puff pastry, I could do the frangipane one, but I don't like it. Every time there is a transition, I only want the brioche, so I'm going to do that. Truth is, I'm in my pyjama right now. Why? Because I thought I was going to do it tomorrow. Tomorrow is the Epiphany, and today I wanted a lazy day because I was tired and I wanted a lazy day, and I can do that. Why? Because the recipe I'm planning to use needs the dough to be chilled overnight after being proofed. So here I am at 11 p.m. already wanting to go to bed. Gonna mix my dough, gonna make it proof, and then I'm going to go to bed after putting it in the fridge. And it sucks! So, right here I have all my dry ingredients. I have a very expensive to make bread flour mix, and it's from Let Them Eat gluten-free cake. She makes really great things, and the recipe is from her. And I trust that recipe and I trust this blend because the few times I used it, it worked pretty well. It not worked perfectly, but that's probably because I'm not very good at making bread yet. But despite it being very expensive to make, it's worth it, so I'm going to try again. It got like whey protein powder that it's just not a French thing, so we don't really have access to it, so I had to order it. Xanthan gum. There are also psyllium husks. There is of course yeast, there is sugar, there is salt, there is baking powder, which is interesting because usually you don't mix both yeast and baking powder, but apparently there is. And there is starch and flour, and rice flour and tapioca, and there are a lot of stuff in there. But usually it's for the best. So I'm gonna mix that with very freshly made mashed potatoes that I just really made and are still perking hot. And then I'm going to add my liquid ingredients, which are whole milk, 1 egg and 6 egg yolks, which is pretty great because I think that in the future I'm going to need a lot of buttercreams, a lot of icing, and having extra egg whites on the side will be very nice. But yeah, it's gonna make a very rich dough and it's gonna be really nice, I think. But I won't know that until I make it. So I'm using my very new to me mixer that I found at the thrift store for 40 bucks, which is great. And I'm using it because, contrary to my usual mixture, the dough hook has this protection there, which means that when, you know, dough that is mixed eventually rise above level and goes into the thing, I don't have to clean inside the machine, I can just clean there, which is gonna be so much easier. Making yeasted dough and stuff like that on the other machine is annoying because the dough goes up and everywhere and cleaning it off is so annoying. But yeah, I'm very happy to have found this mixer for 40 bucks. So now I have two. And I'm so happy because I'm gonna need it. So yeah, see if it works. Okay, dry is mixed. Let's add the potatoes. Two potatoes. Boil them, stick them in stew. Sorry, just watch Narnia and Lord of the Ring in not a lot of time. I actually have Prince Caspian right now. I'm playing on my computer, but yeah, I'm in a mood. And that's the wrong one. It is very wet, but that's just how gluten-free doughs are. They just don't work the same since there is no gluten development. It doesn't stick together as well. You have to trust the process a lot with gluten-free doughs. I know I just said to trust the process, but it's very much wetter than I expected. I'm starting to wonder if I just put the wrong amount of milk, maybe? Okay, now that I'm touching it, it's a little better. Just looked very wet. Okay, trust the process, it worked the other times. Well, I never used that recipe in particular, but the other time I tried to make bread with her recipes, it worked.
rencontré le train de trois grands rois qui allaient en voyage de bon matin. J'ai rencontré le train de trois grands rois dessus le grand chemin.
It's not super smooth. It's struggling to incorporate the thing. This mixer is really great. It's bigger than the other one, so it doesn't tremble as much. But it's still pretty good, big, and it doesn't reach the sides all that well, so there are a lot of unmixed parts in there, which is of course not great. You have to help it a little. But other than that, it's behaving pretty well. I think it's taking a lot of air in, mostly because there are eggs in it. But it's not a bad thing, definitely not. It's making it a lot more dense and more like a whipped dough. Whipped better than a dough, but it's better than nothing. Almost done there. And then I'll add the butter. Okay, it's smooth. It looks pretty good. It definitely is not a gluten dough, so it's not like it's gonna pass the window test or anything. It's still very much a batter, but it looks the way it's supposed to look, so yay! So now I'm adding the butter in chunks. It's very soft butter. And after that, I'll incorporate the butter completely. And then it's rest time. For the dough, not for me. I still have some time before I go to bed. I need it to proof, so probably for like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. It's pretty cold. So I'm like, I turned on my oven for a little while, so it's warm. And yeah, here we are.
Venaient d'abord des gardes du corps, des gens armés avec 30 petits pas.
Alright, my dough is ready. It looks pretty nice. It's all off the edges and it's gonna be great. It is still pretty liquidy, but you know, learn to make with it. And now it's going to get a little siesta in the oven for 2 hours. And then in the fridge, but I'm not going to show you going through the oven to the fridge. It's pretty ridiculous. So instead, I'll see you tomorrow morning. It's been an hour, and contrary to what I was afraid of, it poofed up quite well. But the bad side of it, it's poofed up quite a lot, and it's spilling over. I kind of saw it coming. I don't want to deal with it. I'm going to leave it as such. It is not so bad. Like, it's gonna be fine. It could be a lot worse. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to keep it like that, but I'm going to put it on baking sheet and pretend it's not happening. And if there is any spillage, it's gonna be caught in the baking sheet, so I don't care. And I'm going to brush it a little. So traditionally, those brioche things have like candied fruits on it and little pearl sugar, and I have both of those, so it's not a problem. What the fuck? But considering I will apply a syrup after the baking, I do actually prefer to add said sugar and said fruits after I apply the syrup. It just sticks a little better, it makes more sense. Also pushing the fruits into it tends to slow down the proofing and makes it not as fluffy. So that's not what I want. So for now I'm just going to put a little milk on there to help it get a little golden brown. And then I'm going to add all the decorations afterward, when I have the mind space for it. Considering the recipe that I'm using is actually for little buns, and that she split it in 12 little buns, the baking time is so not working. So I actually do have to completely make up the new baking time and figure it out. Thankfully, I'm actually pretty good at that. I have very good instinct that works with my oven, because my oven is of course very specific. It's a gas oven, so I got very used to it through the years, and I know exactly how much time it will take. So like if a pie tells me it's gonna be done in 40 minutes, I don't believe it. It's gonna be done in 50. And this one I think it's going to be done in 35 minutes. I'm going to check it in 35 minutes, see how it looks, see how it smells, see how it feels, and see if it works. We'll see. But I think 35 minutes is the right. Okay, let's bake. It's been 40 minutes, so I'm not too far from my submission. I already know my oven pretty well. And indeed, it had spilled over. A little. A lot. But I don't care. I think it's going to be yummy. I don't need it to look good, to be yummy. So here I have some syrup, freshly made, 1:1 sugar to water ratio. Very simple thing. And I got my sugar crystals and my candied fruits, and I'm going to have fun and make it look not that bad. Not so bad. Still gonna look pretty bad, but so the goal in stuff like that is always to put the syrups while it's still warm, so it soaks it up. This thing is really a very sugar mess. It's pretty much, it's usually made not by actual bakers but by industry, so it's mass produced, and you know, like most mass produced goods, they're very sugary, very pillowy. They don't taste all that much, but they're good. They're very sweet, and that's what I miss, because that's the thing I can have at all. So I'm going to soak that baby up in as much sugar as I can and pretend it's not ugly, you know. That's the little things. You'd think at that point just pouring it over would be easier, but no, because pouring it over means it spill everywhere and does not soak it up more than when you brush it. So sadly, my best option is to brush it, little by little by little. And while it's still warm, so it has better chance. I think it tastes good. I think it looks pretty bad, but maybe try to buy a new mold next time. Or just do it in something that is not hollow in the middle, just plain round. Would have worked a little better. That's okay. Also, I'm soaking it up right now, but I think I'm going to actually flip it. So I should do that now. But it's still warm. Like this. And pray for me. Pray for me that the other side is prettier too. You know, little things in life. It's probably not going to be prettier, but leave me with my illusions. Man, it's not going to want to pull out, is it? Okay, I think that was a mistake. Gonna try to flip it back. See if that works. I'll flip it back once it's cold. It looks like a mess. It looks like I'm not doing anything right. I am not great. I really wanted to do this here to make things right and take the time and make them think pretty and perfect, and it's not a good start. It's not a great start so far. I think I'm gonna put some of those fruits, and if I ended up using the other side instead, I'll put some fruits on the other side too. It's cherry, by the way, because it's the only thing I could find. And it does not want to stick. It would in a gluten-rich dough. But as you already know, I don't have that kind of luxuries anymore. Okay, a little more soak, and then I'm going to let it cool. Oops. Lust for the nation. I'm gonna replace it. It's okay, I have a bunch more. It's gonna be okay. I'm gonna push them a little bit more so they don't escape. Okay, I'll see you when it's cold. That looks a little better. I'm still gonna have a taste. Taste-wise, not bad. Texture is a bit weird, but it's life. Cool. And there it is. Against all hope, it actually looks good. So remember, when you see pictures, at some point it looked like a fucking mess, and somehow the baker made it work and make it look good. So I returned it, and it smelled weird. It smelled raw, maybe not cooked enough. The smell of this flour mix is not great till it's completely cooked. So it definitely smelled like that. So I returned it, put it back in the oven, and then once it's well pretty and golden, I soaked it in syrup again and again and again and again until I ran out of syrup, to be fair. Then I've actually put on the little fruits again and the little pearl sugar crystals again. And looks nice! It looks the way it's supposed to look. Now let's see if it does taste the way it's supposed to taste. and maybe it's gonna be the slice with the bean. Okay, so I can already tell it's not really fluffy. It's not bad, it's actually risen more than I expected. It bounces a little, so really could be worse. I can also already tell the bean is not there. It tastes good. I'm glad. It does not taste exactly like the kind that I miss, but close enough. It's good. Very sugary. It's not as pillowy, but even making brioche with wheat flour, it's still not as pillowy as the kind they do industrialization wise. It's very pillowy. I don't know how they do it, but it's done by machines and all, and I can do that. Taste wise, pretty good. It is pretty fluffy. It's not like a real brioche, of course, but it's close. Taking it as a win. Yeah. Okay, so it is pretty good. I did not have the bean. I will share it with my neighbor. Hopefully she will have the bean. But apart from that, this concludes this week's baking experiments, and overall it could have been better, but it could have been way worse, and it did turn out roughly what I wanted, which is great. I'm going to take it as a win. Maybe next year I'm going to redo this recipe, but better, because I will have learned how to treat yeasted doughs better. And apart from that, I will see you next week with something else. We'll see. I don't know what it will be. Something simple. I'm tired. Hopefully. Alright, bye bye. Look at her. Wow.